Well, I promised I talked a little bit more about flags to you. I was not lying. If you look up at the top of this building, you'll see on the left-hand side the Catalan flag, in the middle the Spanish flag, and on the right-hand side the Barcelona flag, a new flag. Well, that's a combination of La Señera with the St. George's Cross. Have you all heard the story of St. George and the dragon? Basically, St. George very famously killed a dragon, okay? Other people will tell you it happened in different places. I'm going to tell you it happened right here in Barcelona. And for that reason, he is the patron saint of Catalonia. So you'll see him in particular killing dragons all over the place, including up there on the regional government building. Well, I've been talking a little bit about the politics here. The independence movement is kicking off. Anything to do with that, any protests or anything will come to this point. Catalonia is the wealthiest region in Spain, but also one of the most heavily indebted. So with the austerity cuts that are taking place all over the country at the moment, you can probably imagine how the economics debate goes. I won't bore you too much with that, but I'll tell you that even before the financial crisis in 2006, they held a referendum here, okay? They asked Catalans, who are technically a nation, whether they would like to become a nationality, okay? I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the difference between those two words, but I'll tell you that less than half of the voters showed up to vote. But of those who did, 75% said yes, let's be a nationality. How exciting. Helen, do tell us what happened in the aftermath of this referendum. Well, guys, absolutely nothing happened at all. The reason for that is that referendum here in Barcelona, in Catalonia, sorry, are illegal. They count for nothing. And so instead what we had was a media outcry. People who had paid no attention to the debate before began to take note of what was happening thereafter. Now, as I mentioned, I am from Scotland, and we have a similar, if a very different, independence debate going on there at the moment. Now, in 2014, when we have our referendum on whether or not to leave the UK, for better or for worse, there will be consequences to the results. So I think one thing I can really sympathise with the Catalans on is that they feel they're not being given a say. They're not allowed to decide their own political destiny. So that is something, one of the main themes that runs throughout the debate, and I'll come back to that again later on. But for now, any protests to do with that will make their way here. They also, though, do some fun things in this square. I mentioned before the human towers, the Castells. Has anyone seen these or heard of these before? Well, okay, let's start then by telling you that there are teams of people, okay, who meet once a week and practice all year. They wear white trousers, a sash around their waist, and different coloured shirts to reflect what team they're part of. Well, they start in a circle in the middle of the square and basically clamber on top of each other. Now, I'm losing your interest. We've all seen human pyramids. We've all seen our friends drunkenly mount one another. I know. What is so interesting about these? Well, I would like you all to look through between those buildings there at that metal sculpture. Do you see it? Well, that, guys, is a homage to Castells Towers. That is the record-breaking height of a tower built in 1998 by 9 stories of people. I'm seeing a few jaws fall to the floor now. Good. Yes, a little bit more impressive than you might have thought. Well, these towers are not made of metal, they're made of people. So they wobble, they move. But it obviously makes sense that people get smaller and lighter as the tower is built. Yeah, you're not going to put the fatties on the top. Well, what that means, guys, is they look for the smallest, lightest people they can find to go on top. And that is usually a young child of about 5 or 6 years of age. Yes, I wish I was joking. I'm not. Well, it's not over until that child climbs to the top of the tower, raises their arm in the air with 4 fingers to represent the 4 stripes on the Catalan flag. Yes, it's a bit mad. They are usually safe definitely worth checking out if you're in town. Grab any opportunity you get to see them. If you don't get a chance while you're here, then go home and YouTube them, have a look, and you'll see how impressive they really are. Well, I'm not joking when I say that my stomach is churned every time I talk about them. I have a real fear of falling from heights. But if you're feeling the same way, you're in luck. Our next stop is that little coffee break I told you about before, just in time for the rain to stop. So if we're all ready, we'll head down this way. Keep to the right hand side.
Sorry, which days and times do they do the town?
Which days and times? It's been throughout the summer, sort of weekends here. I don't know this weekend if they're taking place because of the rain. Nothing really happens when it's raining.
Would it be hard to mount a little kid in the rain?
Well, it would be really slippy at the bottom as well, actually. It would be even more dangerous. I would just check on it. If you Google, you should be able to find something.
But I bet the kids love it.
The kids love it. The kids love it. They're stars for the whole sort of week afterwards. But the mothers are... Okay, so this is an odd spot on the tour, guys. I told you the waterfront came a lot closer to where we were standing. It actually came to the end of that street there, so I want to point out the street name. Can you see it, anyone? Carrer de les Dames, it says. Any linguists here want to tell me what that means? Street of the Ladies, precisely. Ladies Street, yes. This is Ladies Street, guys, and this is where the ladies used to come and greet the sailors off the boats. Well, they were not those sorts of ladies. In fact, these ladies were looking for husbands. How does that work? Well, I told you how religious people used to be here in Barcelona. Well, the sailors were perhaps the most religious of any other group. And when times got tough out at sea, when they were caught in terrible storms, they often thought they were going to lose their lives. Well, just then they used to pray to God and make a deal. They'd say, please God, let me off this ship and I will make an honest woman of the first person I see. The first person I see. Well, shall I say the slightly more ugly Betty, the slightly less Kate Moss of our singletons, got an idea of what was happening. They made their way down to this part of town to try and find themselves a life partner. So, I like to think of the long and lasting relationships that must have been started here, but more specifically, of the faces of the sailors coming off the boat at the crack of dawn. No idea what they'd let themselves in for. Well, my mum came on the tour a couple of months ago now, and she has had some trouble in recent years with internet dating. We all know how difficult modern romance can be, but she thinks it's a real shame that something as steadfast as this is not in place all around Europe. And so I think you ought to watch this space. You saw it here first, Barcelona, Ladies Street, okay? Let's make our way now to the real waterfront, which is just through here.